series that we're talking about the Fiqh of Fasting. Last week we took something and somehow, I don't know why, it was very confusing to the brothers that were here. Let me go over it again real quick. And the first point, and for those who are not here, the first point we took the categories of people who have to fast or can break their fast. We said the first one is those who can break their fast and they should compensate for breaking their fast. And who are they? They can break their fast and they can compensate. They don't have to make up those days. Again, they can break their fast and they can compensate. The first category, you told us. What is it? Old man. Old woman.
Sick. Permanently sick.
Permanently sick. An old man and old woman who are weak for fasting, they're going to die, so they can't really make it up anytime. Terminally ill people, which is like someone with cancer, someone with any terminal disease, which is not going to be cured from.
Sure, but like someone who has severe diabetes, that would be instead of...
Yes, that's one of them. If they can't, they have to take, some people have to take medication throughout. Yeah, they're this category as well. So the third one is terminally ill people, regardless of any kind of whatever it may be. The fourth one is pregnant woman. Fifth one, breastfeeding woman. 5 categories. What these people do is they can break their fast and compensate. How much do they compensate? 10 people for every day? You're too harsh, man. You never be a scholar. 1 person for every day that you broke your fast in. And how much do you feed that person? An average meal of your time. The Prophet ﷺ never specified it, so we feed them an average meal of their time. Okay, the second category is Yumun. Why don't you tell us the second category? Someone who can break their fast and they have to make it up. Who is that? Traveler or someone who's sick. 2 categories. You can break your fast and you must you must make up for those days. Okay. What kind of sickness can you break your fast for? If I got a toothache, can I break my fast?
The one that requires you to take medicine?
Well, what if you didn't need to take medicine? What if you got a flu and you don't want to take medicine? You got flu and you don't want to take medicine. Can you break your fast? Yet some scholars went to the point that if it's a mere toothache, is anything you call illness, they took that face value, they took the hadith face value. Whatever you call illness is something, and you really can go by that. I really believe you can go by that. But the great vast majority of the scholars define an illness as something, who can tell me the definition? Something that will harm you or cause additional harm. Meaning if you fast, it's going to add to the illness that you have, or it's going to make it hard upon you. It's better for you to eat or drink or whatever it may be. You feel better. So either way, inshallah, is accepted. In that one, the one by the toothache, does anyone remember who's the scholars who said that? I mentioned some famous scholars. If it's as much as a toothache. Toothache all the way up. Zahiriyya, al-Bukhari, and Ata, the great interpreter of the Quran, Ata, the great Imam of Hadith, al-Bukhari, and Ahl al-Zahir. And we said Ahl al-Zahir are who? Who are Ahl al-Zahir? Literally, the ones who take everything literally. So that's the interpretation. Okay, what if someone fears he's going to die if he doesn't break his fast? What happens? What's his hukum? If I come to you and ask you, there's a possibility or a chance I may die if I don't break my fast. What do you tell him? What do you tell him? Fast? Does he have the choice? He must? Why? 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 What's the proof?
It depends upon the fear itself, whether it's like 100%.
I told you I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, and if I don't break my fast, I'm gonna die. Or there's a chance I'm gonna die. You break your fast, you must break your fast. It's not up to you. You must break your fast because Allah said in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Don't kill yourself, Allah is merciful with you. In another verse, Allah said, وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Allah doesn't want to overburden you in things in Islam. Doesn't want to make it hard upon you in Islam. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةً Surah Al-Baqarah. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ is Surah Al-Baqarah. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Does anyone know what surah it's in? I can't remember right now what surah it's in. Oh.
Is there, some people say if you want to break a fast, you should break it before noon, don't break it after noon. Is there any?
No, there's no significance to that. If you're traveling, you can break it anytime. If you're ill, you can break it anytime as well. Even, for example, if you want, it's your choice. You travel just before Maghrib, half an hour before Maghrib, and you say, okay, I want to break my fast. I travel to Ohio, or it's imminent that I'm traveling. If Allah leaves life in me, I'm going to Ohio, and it's a half hour before Maghrib. Can I break my fast? Can I break my fast? What did we take? Actually, that leads to the next point. When can someone who's traveling break his fast? Does he have to leave his town or no? Do you have to? Why not? What's the proof? What are they? What's their names? There's two instances. The point we're talking about is Anas ibn Malik and Abu Basra. Before they traveled, they broke their fast in their hometown. I'll tell you what we're talking about. I'm in Detroit, and I plan on going to Ohio. And if I live, I'm going to Ohio for sure. So can I sit in my house half an hour before Maghrib and break my fast? Yes, I can. I don't have to wait to pass out of Detroit to break my fast. And it's my option. Half an hour before Maghrib, if I think it's worth it, it's my option to do that. Anas ibn Malik and Abu Basra ate in their hometown before they traveled. They broke their fast. And when some Sahaba objected to that, they said, how could you eat in the hometown before you even travel? He said, this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. When a Sahabi says, this is the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it means that it's as though the Prophet ﷺ said it, because as we know, all our Sahaba are guided men. They would never lie about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Okay, the next point is, who are those who must break their fast and must make it up? You got Yusuf, you got it? You were confused last week.
This is the one.
This is the one. We're going over it for you. Go ahead. What's the last category? Tell me the last category and who that category is.
The one that it's hard for them to trust and they have to...
Yusuf. Yusuf, the last category is someone who must break their fast, must make it up. And we said that's one category. Who is it? Ibn Abbas. Oh, actually, you tell me. You tell me that. Women on her monthly period. She must break her fast and she must make it up. And I said that's the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha radiallahu anha said that in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when a Sahabi or Sahabiya say, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's the same thing as though the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself said it. She said, in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we used to make up for fasting and not make up for prayer. And that's in Bukhari. That's in Sahih al-Bukhari. And I asked the question, and I said, why do women have to make up fasting, but they don't have to make up prayer? Someone who wasn't here, tell me. Someone who wasn't here, tell me. Why do women have to make up fasting and not prayer? Does a woman have to make up prayer? First of all, does a woman make up prayer? No, she doesn't make up. That's unanimous. No one even says that. Why does she have to make up fasting? They're both pillars of Islam. They're both ibadah. Why does she have to make it up? Smart aleck. I said someone who wasn't here last week. Okay, and I was waiting for Ahmed Arshad. There is no reason for that. There was no reason for that. The reason for that, actually, this is proof that our religion, we're confined to proof in it. There's no way you can tell me. You can come up with a lot of scenarios, this, that. It really doesn't, most of them don't make sense. The real reason is, the Prophet said make up this and don't make up that. That's all. That's the only reason we have. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay. Everyone got these categories. Now, now. The second is someone who can, optional. The third one, you must break your fast. Actually, it's haram for her to fast and break her fast. It's haram for her to fast.
If you're going to die, wouldn't it be haram for you to not break your fast?
If you're
going to die.
It's haram for you to not break your fast. Yeah. That's what we said. No, she's asking the second category and the third. The first category is you can break your fast. Look at it. Pay attention, please. I'm going to give it to you real fast. And real easy. It's very easy. Very easy. The first category is someone who breaks his fast and does not have to make it up. All he does is give in compensation for every day. He gives in compensation one meal for a poor person every day. And we said that's 5 categories. The first one is an elder man, elder woman, and terminally ill person, a pregnant woman, and a breastfeeding woman. What is unique about this category? They don't have to fast, and they make up by paying a poor person a meal per day. The second category is you break your fast, you gotta make up a day. You can't go and pay a poor person. You break your fast, you make up for that day. That's 2 kind of people. Someone who's traveling and someone who's sick. Sickness that you get cured from. A flu, a cold, something temporary where you get cured from. The third category, it's haram for you to fast and you must make it up. And that's only 1 kind of people. That's a woman on her period. Everyone understand? Yes.
If can you know, I said you had to feed a poor person?
Yeah.
Instead of feeding them, could you give them $30 to feed themselves?
No, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. We should give them, a meal, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Give them a meal." Really may sound good to us to give them money, and a lot of people do that, but that's not right. Just like the zakat at the end of Ramadan, which we will talk about, it's the same kind of issue. The Prophet ﷺ said at the end of Ramadan, you have to, every single free man, even a woman who's pregnant, must give in for the baby in her stomach, which is a sa'. A sa' is 4 handfuls of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's handfuls. He said give a sa' of rice, dates, wheat, whatever is popular among the people. People today go and give $5 or $7, whatever the masjid says. That's not right to do that. Yeah, you can give me knowing I'm going to go buy it, or give the masjid knowing they're going to go buy rice. But no, some people take it and they give, instead of giving rice or wheat or dates, they go and give the money to that poor person. That's not acceptable, because the Prophet doesn't speak in vain. His words are unique. He said that. أُتِيتُ جَوَامِعَ الْكَلِمِ. He could have said, with the options, he said, one sa' of wheat, 1 sa' of dates, 1 sa' of rice, and he could have said, or a dinar or a dirham, gold or silver. But he didn't say that, so we cannot do that. And one should not do that. Okay, the next thing, yes.
You said there's only 1 person in the last category, it's haram for them to fast, but they have to make it up. But you're saying that somebody who fears that they're going to die, it's haram for them to fast, but they have to make it up. So wouldn't they fall under that category? Well,
someone who's going to die falls under, it's a subcategory for number 2. But someone who's going to die and, certainly by fasting, he doesn't have to make it up, does he? Does he have to make it up? If he's going to die, if he's surely going to die, if he gets out of his illness, if he becomes out of his illness, it's going to be category number 2. It's going to be category number 2. If he dies, he doesn't have to make it up. But he's in the first half of it, in a way, he could be fallen under number 3. In the first half, just the first half. Don't think you got anything, alright?
For fasting while you're traveling, for example, we are traveling 6-7 hour journey.
Yes.
And then you have option to break, and then you feel like you can't make it. Which one is better? You have the option.
We talked actually last week in detail about this, and I came up with the conclusion that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz said, which is whichever's easier. Scholars go into depth. This one's better, this one's not better. And really, you really can't come up with any conclusion. Why? If you want to say, oh, I want to do like the Sahaba did, you find that they go on a trip, and at the trip, one of the Sahaba says, some of us used to fast, some of us used to break their fast. The ones who broke their fast didn't take it, look to the other people as though they're lesser than them. And the other people did not look to the other category as lesser than them. So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz came with a unique conclusion. I think really that's the best one. Whatever's easier for you. Whatever's easier for you.
Well, why do scholars argue back and forth?
Well, some of them got this certain hadith, and they want to take this hadith where the Sahaba fasted. The others like the other sort more. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz and Shawkani were like moderate in the middle. They said whichever is easier for you. If it's not going to cause you harm, if it's not too hard upon you, then you should do whichever is easier for you.
But again, you have to repeat everything, right?
You have to, yes. Okay, what's the manners of someone who fasted? Number one, guys, come on. Suhoor. Number one, suhoor. What about suhoor? What did we say about suhoor? What's enough food for you to say, I did suhoor? What's enough? A drink of water. The Prophet ﷺ said that in hadith. Do not leave suhoor even if it's a drink of water. السحور بركة فلا تدعوه ولو أن يجرع أحدكم جرعة ماء. The Prophet ﷺ said, the suhoor is barakah, do not leave it, even if it's a mere drink of water. A mere drink of water. Okay, when is the time for suhoor? What did we say is the time for suhoor? Can I pray Isha and eat my meal, or eat my meal after Maghrib, then come back after Taraweeh and eat another meal and say, this is my suhoor? Is that my suhoor? What's suhoor? What defines the time of suhoor? What is that? Middle of the night to Fajr. That's the time of suhoor. The best time for suhoor, I said, is in a hadith. How much before the adhan of Fajr? But I mentioned some timing. 50 ayat. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum used to say, we used to eat suhoor and then go before the time of adhan for 50 ayat. They didn't have a time to tell us 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So they had the time of 50 ayat. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. They had the time of 50 ayat before they broke their suhoor. Okay, the second one, what's the opposite suhoor? Eating your futur. That's the second manner of siyam, is breaking your fast. And there's one hadith that says, this ummah shall remain in good shape, as long as they eat their futur as soon as it's time, and delay their suhoor as much as possible. Meaning you delay your suhoor till before Fajr. 50 ayat before Fajr, 50 ayat, I would say, I don't know, it takes way less than 5 minutes maybe. 5 minutes or so. With a fluent person in the Quran. So delay your suhoor, the Prophet ﷺ means, delay your suhoor and eat your breakfast very early, as soon as it's on time. And it doesn't have to be every single time. What if you're somewhere in your car, or you're very busy doing something, and it's time for Maghrib? Some people think it's a big farq to do it every single time. The rule means, so overall, you break your suhoor on time, you break your siyam on time exactly. But there could be exceptional circumstances which is permitted, which we know of that the Sahaba did for exceptional circumstances. The meaning of it is, some people, this is really against those people who think they're better than the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Sahaba, and futur comes, and they say, we want to delay it 10 minutes. Or 15 minutes, just in case. Or you know what? I want to delay it till Isha. I'll be on the safe side then. This is exactly what's against them. They're not supposed to do that. As soon as, and inshallah, if we get today to what I'm going to talk about, you're going to see how even when the Sahaba sometimes were in doubt, they broke their fast as soon as they more likely, seen that the sun was set. Inshallah, I'll tell you that in the hadith. The third one is, the Prophet ﷺ said that you make a dua among the best times, or the best times for one to make a dua is just before he eats. The fourth one, Yusuf?
Could you repeat those du'as, please?
The dua, okay. The first one is, I was supposed to type them up, right? Or someone was? Someone offered to type it. The first dua is, Allahumma inni as'aluka birahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay an taghfira li. It's small, man, that narrow. Okay, pay attention with me. I'm going to say them. Allahumma, write down. Allahumma. There's many hadith that the Prophet ﷺ used. This is one, this is the second, and I'll tell you the third in a minute. Allahumma inni as'aluka برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء أن تغفر لي. You got it? Okay, the next one is ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق. You got these, Sa'id? Why don't you get writing them down? Am I going too fast? Too fast? Allahumma inni as'aluka birahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay an taghfira li. The second one, ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. And the third one, Allahumma, I think this is the most common one that people know. Allahumma laka sumtu Allahumma laka sumtu wa ala rizqika aftar. If anyone wants me to write them, last week some people asked me. Sorry, Yusuf. Last week someone asked me to write them. If you want, I'll stay after and I'll write them out for you. Okay, what do we start on, by the way? When we break our fasting, what are we supposed to start on? What do we start on? What did we say?
Dates.
Before dates. Fresh. The pre-dates, which is in Arabic called balah. Then dates, if you don't have that, balah, which is what's on the tree. You see the dates, which when it's, I think, ripe and green. That's balah called in Arabic. If you don't have that, you do tamar. If you don't have tamar, you water. Okay. What's the next one? By the way, these are the last dua you make. You make dua anything you want. You want kids, you want a husband, you want a wife, whatever you want to do. Say that you want a car, you want a second wife. You ask Allah for any of that. you ask Allah for all that. And at the end, when you're done with your personal dua, this is when you say these dua. And then you break your fast. Meaning, Maghrib time had already happened. You say one of these, or all three of them, or you rotate. You say these three, or one of them, or you rotate amongst them. Dhama, ذهب الظما, mean our thirst is gone.
No, Chef, you said you break your fast with tamar?
Oh, tamar. Tamar is dates. But balah, the first one is, if you see the tree where dates grow, you know it's usually green.
Okay.
In our Arabic countries, they eat it like that. It tastes good too. It's very good. Huh?
And non-ripe food?
Yes. Before it turns into date. If you take that off the tree and you put it in a box, it turns into dates. Okay. What's the next one? Before siwak. Leave that which breaks, which is evil during your fasting, which is like evil talk that's nonsense, backbiting. The Prophet ﷺ said, whomever does not leave this kind of talk, Allah has no reason behind him leaving his eating and drinking. The Prophet ﷺ said, imagine someone who fasts, he get nothing out of his fasting except a hungry stomach and a thirsty throat. Why? Because he does that which he is not supposed to by evil talking. The fifth one is siwak. You can brush your teeth, you can use a miswak. And I said why you can brush your teeth and even use toothpaste, because the Prophet ﷺ used to use siwak excessively in Ramadan. Excessively. Meaning more than normal days. More than normal days. So why can you use toothpaste? Well, we have something in Islam called qiyas. If the Prophet ﷺ used toothpaste, doesn't miswak have a taste to it? Strong taste. We probably don't know it because ours is the cheap kind of miswak, or it comes here outdated. It comes here outdated. We get it probably months or even years after they cut it off the tree. But when it's fresh, it tastes, it burns your tongue. It's like taking that, what's that red spearmint gum? When it burns your tongue, that's how a fresh miswak tastes. And so it does have a taste to it, and so does the toothpaste to it. Meaning, but you can't sit and swallow the toothpaste, but you can brush your teeth and try your best to spit all of it out and leave no taste go down. You accidentally? Well, miswak, you're accidentally going to taste it. Same thing. You try your best not to.
Because you're going to take water with it as well. He's asking to swallow.
Well, you shouldn't swallow it. You try your best not to. If accidentally it happens, then inshallah it's okay.
But if you're miswiping pieces of it, you swallow it?
Well, you shouldn't. And you try your best not to. But if it happens, yes, you can. It's not going to break your fast. How did you get that? Okay. Alright, the last thing is to be generous in Ramadan and excessively recite Quran. Generous in Ramadan and you recite Quran. The Prophet ﷺ alone with Jibreel used to recite the Quran once a month, just with Jibreel. That's the other than on his own. In the month he died, he recited it twice with Jibreel alayhi salam. And also he was very, very generous with his wealth in Ramadan. Anas radiallahu anh described the Prophet ﷺ, he was very generous in his normal days. Generous, we never seen a human being like that. In Ramadan, he was more generous than his regular days, because Allah gives the ajr in this month. Also, someone has zakah, we're supposed to give 2.5% of our zakah. Usually, you can delay the zakah, or you can pay it beforehand. If you delay it, you better put it in your will, because if you die and you don't pay your zakah, you have a problem with Allah, and a big problem. So you should, if you delay it, write it in your will. Like you have $1,000 and 2 months before Ramadan, you had them for 1 year. You say, you know what, I want to wait 2 months and spend them in Ramadan. That's permissible. You better put it in your will and let your close ones know, if I die, you take this out of my money. And you wait in Ramadan and you spend it in Ramadan, because Ramadan is a holy month. The good deeds in Ramadan are worth more than the good deeds in any other month. Or your zakah is not due Ramadan, but you know it's going to be due 2 months after Ramadan. You say, I want to pay it prior to that. That's good as well. But not only the zakah. We Muslims don't only pay 2.5% of our zakah. We pay, in addition to the zakah, anything of our wealth that we can that's excessive or that we know can help other Muslims. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ فِي الْمَالِ حَقًّا سِوَى الزَّكَاةِ. In your wealth is a right in addition to the zakah, we shouldn't even be talking about that. That's beyond the question. 2.5% is nothing. But in addition to that, every Muslim should take out a percentage of his wealth for the sake of Allah and the Messenger by helping orphans, by helping mujahideen throughout the world, by helping, wherever it's needed. Okay, let's take today, what are the things that negate your fasting? Things that negate your fasting are 2 categories. One of them that negate your fasting, and you must make up for it. And one of them, the second one, you must negate your fasting, and you make up for it, and you also gotta do a penalty on top of that. I'll tell you in a minute. Let's take the first category. The first category, things that negate your fasting, and you gotta make up your fasting without no penalty on top of that. The first one is eating and drinking. Eating and drinking on purpose. It's a big sin. There's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, this is a side issue, you don't have to write it down. Whoever breaks his eating, his fasting in Ramadan on purpose, Allah will not accept from him even if he were to fast the entire life after that in compensation for that one day. What that means, could someone tell me what that means? What's it mean? Weak? No, it's not weak. Where'd you find it weak? No, it's not weak. But they probably, Ibn Hajar said it's not weak, but the meaning of it, some people try to get out of the meaning of it by saying it's weak. It's not weak, why? I'll tell you why it's not weak. Because the meaning of the hadith is if you don't repent. If you don't repent. Some people try to say, how could that happen? If you fast your entire life, and we know we're ordered if we break a day to compensate for that day. The meaning of it is if you do not fast that day. So the first one is if you eat or you drink, you have to make up for that day, but you gotta repent to Allah for breaking your fast. What if you break your fast? Sub-issue under this, what if you break your fast by mistake? You forget. It's okay? A lot of people say you can't in Ramadan. A lot of people say. They say only in Sunnah fasting. If you're like fasting a Monday or a Thursday and you forget, it's okay. But if you forget in Ramadan, you gotta make up, you break your fast, that's it, and you make up for that day.
What if you eat something and then can't you, when you realize it, you stop eating and continue to fast?
Well, that's what we're supposed to do. That's if you forget. We're talking about, okay, if someone forgets and someone, remembers during his bite. He's biting on his meal, he's eating, chewing it, and he remembers. He's supposed to spit it out the second he knows, he remembers, and continue his fast. That's the opinion, yes. But I'm saying some people say in Ramadan, if you do that, that's it. Your fasting is broken. It's only applicable that you continue your fasting in Sunnah. A lot of people say that. Actually, it's opinion by some scholars. But the truth is, yes, even if you forget, as long as the second you remember, you spit it out. The Prophet ﷺ said, whomever eats in Ramadan, the hadith says, in Ramadan, by mistake, he does not have to compensate and he does not have to do a kafara. Ibn Hajar, rahimahullah, said, its chain of authenticity is strong. Yes, Ibn Abbas.
Is it considered wasting if when you spit it out?
Well, no. In this kind of setting, you should spit it out. There's a unique opinion by scholars, and this is if you see someone in Ramadan or he's fasting and he's eating in front of you, and you remember and he doesn't. What do you do? Do you tell him? Do you tell him or no?
Yes.
Well, it's a 50-50 thing. I personally wouldn't tell him, but it's a 50-50. Some scholars say, no, you gotta tell him because you're ordaining the good and forbidding the evil. Tell him, some scholars say, the hadith says, Allah fed him and brought him water, so why are you stopping him from that which Allah is feeding him? So the scholars are almost a 50-50 thing on this matter. Would you remind him or not? Okay, the first category that you break your fast is eating or drinking on purpose. And we said that you gotta make up for that day. And if it's by you forgetting, you don't have to make up for it, because the Prophet ﷺ said, whomever eats or drinks by error, then he does not have to make up for it and does not have to do a kaffara. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, whomever eats and drinks in Ramadan, let him continue his fasting, because Allah is the one who fed him and gave him water. Whomever eats and drinks in Ramadan, let him continue his fasting, because Allah is the one who fed him and brought him water. That means by mistake.
If there is a hadith that says clearly that he continues his fasting, why some scholars say that he has to make it up?
Well, they believe it's exceptional. That's why I only, if you noted, there's many hadith on this category. I only brought you ones that have in it Ramadan. The scholars who said that it breaks your fast took the general hadith where it says, general hadith without specifically saying Ramadan. I only brought today the ones in Ramadan, because the hadith didn't reach them. So they took it to mean only in Nafil. I only brought today the ones in Ramadan because that's where only the dispute is. The third one, because we said the first one and second one are eating and drinking. The third one is vomiting. Does vomiting break your fast?
Is that the second?
No, this is the third one. The first one is eating, second one is drinking, third one is vomiting. Vomiting does not break your fast unless you intentionally vomit. It does not break your fast unless you intentionally vomit. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by Abu Huraira, whomever vomits intentionally, then he must make it up. Whomever does not do it intentionally does not have to make it up.
You know how bulimics like eat till they puke and stuff?
Who is it?
Bulimics?
Yes.
Is that considered a sickness where you don't fast?
I'm not too familiar with that disease, but I hear about it. But if they intentionally put their finger in their mouth, then their fasting is broken. If it comes out naturally for a sickness or whatever, then it's permitted. And among the reasons that scholars say when talking about this hadith is when you vomit by your own finger, part of your vomit goes back. When it comes out from a sickness or illness, it comes out from the stomach all the way by itself, and rarely anything goes back. But either way, that's their guess. But either way, we have a direct hadith by Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu.
So do they not fast?
Well, I don't know if it's controllable or not. If it's not controllable, if they can't control it, that's something else. I think, everyone can control his finger that put it in his mouth.
Is kafara necessary for vomiting intentionally?
Intentionally? No, it's not. You must make up a day for it, though.
What if somebody wants to break his fast and not?
Well, he gets sins for it. That's just like eating. It's just like eating. Yes, he must repent, but there's no kafara for it. Just because he has to repent, we cannot say there's a kafara. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, if you break your fast by intentionally eating, you gotta do this. He never said that. But he does get a sin, and he has to repent from that sin. Okay, the next one, 4 and 5. By the way, Al-Khattabi rahimahullah said, and the last one about vomiting, he said, I do not know of any dispute among scholars that one who vomits because of illness and not intentionally, that it does not break his fast. Meaning it's almost clear among scholars.
I'm assuming taking shots or something like that would fall in the first category of eating and drinking intentionally?
Well, the shots are disputed. If they're, some scholars said if they're not something that are nutrition like food, it's okay. If not, if they're like nutrition or food or something, like the shots they put you, if it's like that, that breaks your fast. If it's not, then it's permissible. Sheikh Ibn Baz believes all kinds of shots are break your fast, which I believe we should resort to the scholars, like I always say, because this is new stuff, contemporary stuff. Meaning it wasn't in the old times. They didn't have shots back in the old time. So we resort to this stuff, to the elder scholars who have big fatwas on it. And there's a fatwa that shots do break your fast.
Any type of shot? Any injection whatsoever?
Well, yes. There's a fatwa by the Lajna. Any shots break your fast. Yes. But there's other personal opinions that, if it's not, like I said in the beginning, there's other personal scholars I know who said that, but the by a great vast majority of the scholars said any kind of shot breaks the fast. The reasoning, it's something that enters your body, isn't it? Isn't it? Something that enters your body?
But I thought it was just like food and water that enters the body.
Well, that's how they had back then, the entry of the food and the water. But, as you know, shots do have an effect on a person.
It doesn't satisfy the same thing that food and water satisfy. I mean, you know what I mean?
Does...
Wouldn't it be the same thing like medicine? Shots make the same as medicine?
Well, yeah, it could be the same as medicine, but they do have an effect on you, don't they? Don't they have an effect on you?
Yes.
They do have an effect on you. I mean, if back then, probably some time ago, instead of taking a shot, you take a pill. Actually, you go sometimes, instead of taking, they ask you want to take a pill or do you want to take a shot? So I think it really has the same effect. Just because it enters a needle, and not through the mouth, it doesn't make a big difference.
Does giving blood, that doesn't break the fast?
Giving blood? Well, no, it doesn't. Not from what I know. It doesn't break your fast. Because it's not taking anything in. Yes, Suman.
I heard something about cohen when you put it in your eyes, does that break your fast?
We'll get to that. It's a whole topic I'm going to get into. Kuhul and hijama. The Prophet ﷺ, his question is about blood. We'll get into that. The Prophet ﷺ did do hijama while he was fasting.
He said that the introduction is going to break our Islam. Is it because something enters our body, or the thing that enters our body is beneficial to us? The point, if anything enters.
Well, it's not that. And if you put a needle, if you poke yourself with a needle, that's not going to break your fast. It's what's in the needle that breaks your fast. Because, like I told you, you go to sometimes there's medicine that you have the choice, taking a pill or taking a shot. So just because you take it in another form than that which we know that's popular, it doesn't make it halal, or it doesn't make it that it's not going to break your fast. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
So what if the stuff that inside our body is not beneficial to us, like some plasma, some stuff. It's not something
Like what?
calcium or like vitamin.
I mean, not nutrition.
Why would you inject it yourself? Well, give it or really.
Remember what Ibn Abbas said about these kind of questions, Yusuf? Did they happen? Did it happen? Is it going to happen? Is it a possibility of happening? I guess people take shots because there's medicine in it.
The reason why I asked this question to you.
How about diabetics who take
Who?
diabetics?
What about it?
Some of them have it so bad.
Some of them?
Some of them have it so bad they have to take insulin.
Yes. Yes.
They wouldn't be allowed to stop.
Well, diabetics, like we talked in the beginning, if they take shots, there's a clear fatwa, and that actually falls under the first category we talked about. That's a terminally disease that you have to take medicine for it, so you don't have to fast. What you do is compensate for every day by a sick person, by giving a sick person, by giving a poor person, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I know I came in late, but I remember last week you distinguished between terminally ill and a regularly ill condition, right?
Yes.
And taking medication of an illness that is not terminal. If the medicine has to be taken following a meal, What is that?
Well, we're talking about diabetes. Diabetes, if you're talking about that, and it's going to continue for the rest of their life, how are they going to fast when they take the shot every single day? How are they going to fast? They feed for a poor person. If it's someone who needs to take a shot and it's going to be temporary, 10 days of his life, 20 days, that's not terminally ill. If he does that and takes the shot, then he compensates by making up for that day after he feels better.
And that's the same as taking a pill as well.
I believe so. I believe so. Okay. I'll leave time at the end for this kind of discussion, inshallah. We don't want to lose our train of thoughts, but save your question. I'll stay as long as it takes at the end to see what we can answer these questions. Number 4 and 5 is a woman on her period or a woman after giving birth. If a woman goes on her period 5 minutes before Maghrib, what happens? Break her fast? Number 4 and 5, we're talking about.
You said this category is things that break your fast, and you must make it up. A woman who's giving birth, she's not fasting and starving.
The woman, the days after her birth. There's a days after the birth called in Islam, what are they, the fiqh term for it? Nifas. These are days, I think it's 40 days after a woman gives birth, which have the same hukum as a woman on her period. So that's 4 and 5. We got the hayd, which is a woman on her period, and number 5 is a woman after she gives birth. She has 40 days where she doesn't pray nor does she fast. She got to make up for those days. And like I said, if a woman goes on her period just 5 minutes before Maghrib, that day is considered invalid. Some people think it's a 50-50 thing. If you're in the middle of the day, then you just continue. If not, you don't. But if it's just 5 minutes before Maghrib, then she breaks her fast. Her fast must be made up for. Yes?
So wouldn't this be under categories where you have to make it up?
We're talking about the things now, 2 categories, where you have to make it up, and we're taking them in detail.
Oh, yeah.
What negates the fasting? Okay, number 7, what negates the fasting? What taken, and actually this probably sheds some light, number 7 was shed, 6, I'm sorry. What shed some light on the question the sister brought up about shots. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it said in a hadith that even things that do not fulfill your stomach, don't fulfill your hungry stomach, are considered things that invalidate your fasting. And the example on that would be like someone who takes a bucket of salt or sugar. If someone takes a bucket of salt and sugar, does that feed him? Usually that has no effect on feeding him. However, it's unanimous among all scholars that negates the fasting. Or if someone takes a little bit of sugar or a little bit of salt, does that help him out any? Usually that does not feed him, or probably makes him only a little bit thirstier. But it's unanimous among all scholars that negates his fasting. Yes?
Okay, so when I was younger, you used to go to the water fountain and you just sip on the water and not take it in and then just spit it out. Would that be
that does not break your fast. We're talking about salt. Someone who takes salt. Is salt considered food? It's not considered food in the literal term food, like it's rice or a meal that you take. Yeah. But it's something you could put in your mouth. It's tasty, but it's not food. Anyone who does that or takes that, his fasting is negated by scholars. We have exception. Why did we allow that? If you came to me and asked me about brushing your teeth in fasting, I tell you that's haram. Why did we allow toothpaste or miswak? Why did we allow that? Because it's an exception. The Prophet ﷺ did that. Had he not did that, we wouldn't have not did that. Not even a miswak. Because we're not allowed to put something like that in our mouth. Wudu. Some Sahaba went to the extent of even stopping the gargle and and putting water in their noses, because usually when you make wudu, you're supposed to take in the water with your nose as far as it goes. And some of the Sahaba quit doing this in fasting. They said, this is going to negate our fast. then the Prophet ﷺ told them it's permissible and that they should continue doing that even during their fasting.
So even if it's like special flavor toothpaste? Continuation.
You know, there's toothpaste with miswak flavor in it. Get that kind. Okay. The next one is number 8. Whomever, 7, it's 7 guys. I know what my number is. 4 and 5 is hayd and nifas, a woman on her period or after the birth. 6 is eating that which does not, fulfill your hunger, like which I gave an example, like salt or sugar. It doesn't really fulfill your hunger, but taking it in unanimously breaks your wudu. The next one is 7, whomever makes the niyyah to fast, whomever fasts without a niyyah. For example, I give you the example on this, someone whose niyyah is to break the fast. He is going on a trip and his niyyah that day is to break the fast. And then he fasts. He fasts physically, but his niyyah is otherwise. That, as you know from the beginning, we talked about it, that lacks one of the pillars of fasting, which is the niyyah. For example, I say I'm going to Ohio today, last night. I said tomorrow I'm not going to fast. Right now, it's Isha time. I say tomorrow is Ramadan, I'm not going to fast because I'm leaving to Ohio. And I sleep on that niyyah, that I'm not fasting tomorrow. I wake up tomorrow and somehow the trip is cancelled. I had the niyyah of what? Not fasting. I may physically fast, I got to make it up because I lost on one of the pillars of fasting, which is I did not have my niyyah at that time. Yes. Let him go. If it's concerned this matter.
Sometimes we know that the Prophet doesn't have the niyyah for fasting, and when he gets home...
See, Basil, you weren't here the first time. We talked about that. That's for the sunnah. The sunnah you don't have to have a niyyah for, because the Prophet ﷺ at dhuhr time, or prior to dhuhr, he would ask Aisha, is there any food? And Aisha radiallahu anha would say no. He said, oh Allah, I'm fasting. Meaning he did not have his niyyah prior to that. He was going to break his fasting, but it was going to eat. However, he didn't find nothing in the house. He said, let me just fast. He didn't have the niyyah. And other hadith, the accumulation of that shows you there's 2 categories. Sunnah, you do not need the niyyah. Fard, you must have the niyyah for the fasting of Ramadan. Okay.
For sunnah, fasting, sunnah, some of these categories are different, right? Some of these categories are different.
Yes, we're talking about Ramadan. I didn't even talk nothing about the sunnah, and I don't think I'm going to get to that. The next one is if someone eats, and the reason I brought this next one is because it's disputed among scholars, which is number 8, if someone eats or drinks or has a relationship with his wife, thinking that Maghrib time happened, or not knowing that it's in the morning, he thought there's about 10 minutes left after Fajr, and he either drank or ate or had a relationship with his wife. What does one do?
He continues his fasting, but he has to make it up.
What's your proof on that? Big scholars. Again, let me explain the scenario, and this is disputed among scholars. Someone who eats, drinks, or has a relationship with his wife, thinking Maghrib happened. He sees it's like it's dark outside, he thinks Maghrib happened, so he breaks his fasting, eating and drinking. Or he doesn't know Fajr is happened, and he eats and drinks or has a relationship with his wife. According to 4 imams, all 4 imams, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, Malik and Ahmad, his fasting is not right, and he has to make up that fasting sometime after Ramadan. According to the 4 imams. And to be quite frank with you, the second opinion is the authentic opinion, which is the opinion by the following imams. None of them are the 4 great famous imams, which are Ishaq, Ibn Rahaway, Dawood, Ibn Hazm, Ata and Urwa. They adopted the opinion, you don't have to make it up, and that's the true opinion. You do not have to make it up. I just brought this last one. Why? I wanted to show you the dispute among the scholars. Allah says, ليس عليكم جناح فيما أخطأتم به ولكن ما تعمدت قلوبكم. It's not, Allah will not take you by that which you make a mistake in, except that which you do on purpose. A verse in the Quran. ليس عليكم جناح فيما, whatever you make a mistake in, it's forgiven. Unless you do it and you do it on purpose. The Prophet ﷺ says, my ummah is not taken by the mistakes such as رفع عن أمة الخطأ والنسيان. Mistakes and forgetfulness. The ummah is excused in mistakes and forgetfulness. I forget Salatul Dhuhr, and I go on for 2 days and I don't know Salatul Dhuhr that I forgot it. Then I remember it. I don't get sins, but when I remember it, I must make it up. Or I made a mistake. Allah does not take me by the mistakes. 2 things this ummah is exempt that Allah will not give them sins for. And more so, these are 2 general proof. I give you detailed proof for Ramadan. During the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anh, someone declared that Maghrib happened and they all broke their fast. And you know what it was? It was just a cloud. A cloud that covered the sun. They thought Maghrib had happened and everyone broke their fast. So everyone broke their fast. Then someone said, okay, we got to make it up. Umar ibn Khattab said, that's not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This was in error. That's not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This was in error. Allahu A'lam. Allahu A'lam. I really can't tell you, but that's the opinion adopted by the 4 Imams. The next one is a hadith in Bukhari. A hadith in Bukhari narrated by Asma radiallahu anha. We ate one time during the Prophet ﷺ's time, and then the sun came out, meaning it was cloudy. The Fajr time, it remained cloudy. It remained cloudy after Fajr for a certain period of time. Then the cloud went away, and the sun was right there. Meaning we went beyond the Fajr in eating and drinking. And the Prophet ﷺ did not order us to make it up. The Prophet ﷺ did not order us to make it up. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and as you know, we usually a lot of the times adopt the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah. The reason is Ibn Taymiyyah is what's called a muhaqqiq. He came after the 4 Imams, and he is the one who could look into the opinions of the Imams and say, here's their proof, here's the other proof, here's the authentic opinion. Him and people like Ibn Hajar, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, these are people called muhaqqiqin. They came at a time when the hard work was already done. It was done by the 4 Imams. They came and say, oh, here's the proof for this one, here's the proof for this one, in the 3rd one, in the 4th, here's the authentic opinion. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, from these 2 hadith, you learn 2 things. The first thing is that if it's cloudy, you break your fast. I mean, if it's cloudy, don't say, oh, it's cloudy, let's wait another half an hour. As soon as you see it and you think the sun has set, even if it possibility that it's cloudy, you break your fast. The second thing he said we learn out of this is that you do not make up your fasting. So there's 2 things. Meaning, when there's doubt that it's cloudy, is it cloudy or did the sun go down? Which one of the 2? You break your fast like the Sahaba radiallahu anhum did. The second thing, you don't make that up because the Prophet ﷺ would have told them and ordered them to make it up. Let's take questions on that because I hope I didn't confuse. Are you with us, Yusuf? Sisters, are you with? Go ahead, Haya. Well, I really don't think it directly applies in the cloudy, in being cloudy, but it does apply by mistake. You wake up and you think, oh, you don't look at the time, or you're so sleepy you don't see the time, right? Or, maybe next year, Ramadan is going to be in the middle of the what do they call it when we change that? Daylight saving. Okay, daylight saving. So someone could probably not fix his clock and think it's time for Maghrib. So this would apply to us. But the cloudy, I think we got timetables and we got watches. It's not going to apply to us. But the mistake part does apply to us. You understand? You guys with us? I see a lot of blank faces. Tell me if you didn't understand. I'll go over it again. You with us, Saeed? You alright? You don't look alright. Okay, what's the thing that if you do in Ramadan, you gotta make up for it and make up an additional kafara with it. It's one thing. What is it?
I have a relationship with a wife.
Having a relationship with a wife. That's the only thing. Intentionally. Of course, we talked about mistake just now.
Define the category again, one more time.
You gotta make up for that day and make a kafara. And we're gonna talk about what the kafara is, meaning in addition to that you do something else. The Prophet ﷺ was approached by a man who told him, I'm doomed, I was doomed. And he said, what did you do? He said, I had a relationship with my wife during Ramadan. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you free a slave. He said, I can't afford to free a slave. He said, then you feed 60 people. He said, I can't afford to feed 60 people. Then he said, he said the second one was fast 2 months. 2 consecutive months. 2 consecutive months, 60 days. He said, I cannot fast 60 days. I'm not able to. He said, then you feed 60 people. He said, I can't feed 60 people. And then so the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, take. He took a branch with a bunch of dates on it. And he said, take this and give it to some poor people. He said, but there's no one in Medina who's poorer than me. I don't know what he was doing, our relationship, if he's that poor, man. So these are the steps that one does. And these 3 things that we do, Ahmed Arshad, are the kafara. These are called a kafara.
So eating intentionally eating doesn't require kafara?
No, it doesn't. No kafara. Why do we do a kafara on one relationship with his wife and not on one breaking it intentionally by eating? Why? We don't have a hadith. We don't have proof. We don't have proof that the Prophet ﷺ said that if you break your fasting intentionally, that you have to fast 5 additional days, 20 days. We have hadith right here. The Prophet, go ahead. The Prophet ﷺ was approached by a man, and he said, the hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, I'm doomed. The Prophet said, what did you do? He said, I had a relationship with my wife in the day of Ramadan. So the Prophet ﷺ said, free a slave. He said, I can't free a slave. Can't afford to. He said, okay, you fast 60 days. He said, fast consecutive. It has to be consecutive. As you're going to see, when you make up for Ramadan, they don't have to be consecutive. These 60 days got to be consecutive, right after each other. You can't leave a day out. If you leave a day out, you got to start all over again. 60 days. So the second one is 60 days. The third one, he said, I can't do 60 days. He said, alright, then feed 60 people. He said, I can't feed 60 people. So the last part of the hadith doesn't concern us, which the Prophet ﷺ gave him a branch, and he said, give this to poor people. He said, I don't know of anyone more poor in Medina than I am. So these are the things one does when they have a relationship with their woman in the day of Ramadan. And actually, why does anyone know why the punishment is so great for someone who does that? Yes. Why, Yusuf? Single people shouldn't talk. Why? Tell us. What? Tell us if you know. Ahmed gave a direct answer because he's a married man. You tell us. What did he say? Oh, that's good. That's what I want to hear. The reason behind it is because the temptation for someone who's married, is big temptation to have a relationship with his wife. They're there alone, and there's a big temptation that they're going to do something. But when it hits your mind, I got 60 days, that's it, man. That's the end of it. So that's the reason it is. And someone probably answers your question, why there isn't a kafara for someone who eats, intentionally. Because there's really no temptation. Unless it's the devil playing around with you,
Also, wife has to do another 60 days.
Okay, this is the next point. The Jumhur of the scholars say, both of them each one of them gotta do the 3 steps. And you gotta do them in order. The first one is free a slave. You can't free a slave. Fast 60 consecutive days. You can't fast 60. You gotta feed 60 people. The Jumhur of the scholars say that both the male and the female have to do it, unless the female was forced into doing that, unless the wife was forced into doing that, she doesn't have a kafara. But if she wasn't, yes, she must fast or do those 3 steps just like her husband has to. Shafi'i rahimahullah, the only one said out of the Imams that said the woman doesn't have to. And his reasoning behind that is this hadith. The Prophet was telling the man, how come he didn't mention the woman as well? And as we know in Islam, anything the Prophet tells a man applies to a woman. Anything. Anything. Actually, if we take it like that, like Shafi'i rahimahullah said, there's rarely any rules that apply to a woman in Islam. Because all the things in Islam are talking to a man. But implied and included in the Arabic language is woman in every single command in that. So the Shafi'i rahimahullah said a woman does not have to because of that.
And both will have to do the kafara also.
Huh? Now?
Both will have to do the kafara.
Both of them have to. I said according to all Imams except Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Al-Shafi'i rahimahullah's reasoning is that hadith I mentioned. The hadith that I mentioned, that the Prophet was talking to the man, and he didn't tell him, and go tell your wife to do that. But that doesn't really have to happen. Unless you have proof where a man is separate than a woman, is different than a woman, then every single rule in Islam applies to a man just like it applies to a woman, unless you bring me something that shows that it's distinct. Okay. The next thing, what if someone does this mistake 5 times in Ramadan? You know, I heard a tape actually by Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah. A young couple, they got married and they all Ramadan, 30 days. So what do you do? What do you do? Huh? It's really, you guys, you single guys, okay, when you get married, you're going to need this. You're going to go back to your notes. 5 years from now, you guys are going to go back to your notes. What did Ahmed say about this?
Some people have.
Huh?
Some people go back and
Imam Ahmed rahimahullah said, what did you say? Go ahead. Why? Well, Imam Ahmed, the only one who specified this, he said one thing. He said that these are related things. I mean, breaking the fast for this reason and breaking it the second day for the same reason, they're all like the same thing. You only make up one for all of them as many as you did. However, the great vast majority of scholars, and I think it's the right opinion, for every single day you make up 60 days. Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen told that young couple, go make up 60 days for every single day of Ramadan that you fasted. And I believe so. There's nothing else to cite it other than that. Because, you know, what's 30 times 60 days? Is it? It's a lesson, it's a hard lesson, because that a Muslim can't be ignorant. You gotta ask, you gotta come to a class like this and learn your Ramadan. Just like you go to driver's ed to get a driver license, before you get your driver license, every community should have a halaqah, not during Ramadan. You know, a lot of people do this during Ramadan. You have to do it before Ramadan so we can understand this stuff. So ignorance is not an excuse in these kind of matters. Okay, the next issue, I think in the last one, we have time? Are you guys tired? The next one is making up for missed days in Ramadan. Making up for missed days in Ramadan. When do you have to make up within the missed days of Ramadan? Missed. Qada Ramadan. Qada Ramadan. Al-ayyam اللي if someone broke his fast for sickness, for travel, for journey, a woman on her monthly days, she broke it. When does she make it up? Monday, before the next Ramadan. The doing of Aisha radiallahu anha is she used to wait her days until the month before, just before the next Ramadan, and she make them all up in that month. We know of no Sahaba, no one who let it go beyond 1 year. So the trend of the Sahaba in making up days is that they make it up before Ramadan, the next Ramadan. Okay, that's the first point. So you make it up before the next Ramadan. The next point is, do you have to make them consecutive? I missed 5 days. You don't have to make them consecutive. Unlike the other hadith, look how unique. The other hadith, that you have to fast 60 days consecutive. This one, it just says, make them up.
When you make them up, you have the intention of making up, right?
It has to be for the intention of making up Ramadan. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said to someone who asked him, If you want, do them together, and if you want, separate. Meaning you got 5 days, you put 1 day, you make up 1 day, and then you leave 10 days, then you make up another day. He said either one, it's up to you.
Question. The fiqh of Ramadan, what fiqh applies to when you're making those fasts? Like the fiqh of voluntary fasting or fiqh of mandatory fasting? Mandatory fasting, right? You know how sometimes issues differ? If it's an optional fast or...
Yes, might not a lot of issues, but some issues do. Like the niyyah issue, for example. We take each one alone. And what we're taking here is focusing just on the fard of Ramadan.
What I'm saying is when you're making it up, you're not really fasting in Ramadan, right? But the rules of Ramadan will still apply to you.
Yeah, like Uthman said, you have to make the intention. You can't just make up, fast any day without the intention that this is to make up. In your heart, why did you fast the next day? In your heart, you gotta know that I'm fasting to compensate for what I missed from Ramadan. Of course, as you know, if your intention is by heart only, you don't say nothing by your tongue. Okay. What if someone, the third point, we took 3 points, this is the third point. What if someone leaves a day to the following year? Ramadan comes and they have 2, 3 days, 5 days until in the following Ramadan comes. What do they do? What do they do? Someone asked me this long time ago, would they like to answer?
No, for each day that
You said that if he didn't fast when the Ramadan comes, he will still have some days to do fasting. That's not the next Ramadan.
But we said the Sahaba never did that.
Okay, so he has to fast.
Well, the scholars dispute it. The great vast majority say he makes it up and asks Allah for forgiveness, and that's the right opinion. He makes it up and asks Allah for forgiveness because he didn't make it up in that same year. Another group of scholars, which is Malik and Shafi'i, they say if he, for some reason, doesn't make it up, maybe he became ill that year or he was traveling throughout that year. If he has an excuse, then he just makes it up. That's all. If he doesn't have an excuse, he has to make up every single day and compensate by feeding a poor person every day of those days. But there's no proof behind that. There's no proof with those people. I don't know Ibn Baz's opinion on this matter. Malik al-Shafi'i say he makes it up. If he delayed it for excuse, he doesn't have to do nothing. Just make it up. If there's no excuse for him delaying it, he has to make it up and feed a poor person every single day. But we go by proof. And like Sayyid Sabiq rahimahullah said, there's no proof on this, so we go by the opinion that you only make up that day. You ask Allah for forgiveness for not making it in a timely manner.
For the 6 white days and Shawwal,
yes.
Some people say that you can make up your days and have niyyah for those 6 days in like 1 day. You can be making up your days for Ramadan and be doing the 6 days.
Within the same niyyah? Same niyyah? Where on earth did you get that from? That's not true. That's not true. Actually, I think the right opinion, someone who did not fully fast Ramadan does not get the ajr of fasting the 6 days of Shawwal. You know why? Because the Prophet ﷺ says, Man sama Ramadan, all of Ramadan. If you traveled and you broke it, you can't tell me fasting after Ramadan is like fasting in Ramadan. That's the opinion of a lot of scholars, and I think it's the right opinion. Because the Prophet said, Man sama Ramadan. And then atba'ahu sittan min Shawwal. So if someone doesn't fast for some reason, inshallah they get some other reward, but not the reward of fasting the 6 Shawwal. Because fasting Ramadan means in Arabic full Ramadan, not part of Ramadan. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Yes.
These conditions that you mentioned.
Yes.
For people like if they were sick or for some reason, but not for someone that intentionally break fast in Ramadan. It's a question. I'm not. this is just for people that were sick or they had a...
Which ones? What?
That you mentioned, like making them up before next Ramadan. And,
Those are for excuse only. For excuse, yes. Yeah. Yes.
That means no woman will ever get the ajr for this.
Well, that's what I think the right opinion is. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Man sama Ramadan. Ramadan means all of Ramadan. All of Ramadan. And then follows it by 6 of Shawwal. Don't blame me. Just blame, don't.
That means then the woman should fast for 6 days.
So don't you get the reward based on the need?
You get the reward based on the niyyah and the amal. What if someone traveled? He's excused. Someone who traveled, he's excused. But he doesn't fall under someone who fasted all of Ramadan.
So you said the person gets the ajr on niyyah and amal. But what if, there is a clear hadith from the Prophet about the man who is poor and he say, oh, if I had money, I would have spent for the sake of Allah. And he said like both men will have the same reward. Even if he doesn't spend, because he doesn't have.
This is not my interpretation. It's not from my bag. This is the opinion of the great vast majority of the scholars. And if you look at the hadith, the Prophet said, Man sama Ramadan. You're not losing much on it. Man sama Ramadan. If you want this specialty, you have to fast all of Ramadan. Ramadan in its entirety. Yes, I used to think it wasn't like this, till actually 2 years ago. But when I read the opinion Ramadan and the way it's worded, means you gotta fast all of Ramadan in Ramadan. Man sama Ramadan. And then atba'ahu sittan min Shawwal. Someone who left out days did not fast it. Did not fast it. The Prophet did not say whose niyyah is to fast Ramadan. He said whom fasts Ramadan.
But the other hadith.
Which one?
That one that I just said.
He doesn't have money. And he say, if I had money, I would have like spent it for the sake of Allah. I would have done so.
That's different. That's different. There's nothing based on that. There's nothing. There's something based on it, which is the fasting something following to it. There's something based on it, which is you have to fast all of Ramadan. You have to fast all of Ramadan. Man sama Ramadan. If it's by intention only, then a lot of people get all other rewards. But this is not by intention only, because the Prophet said Sama Ramadan. If he said whose intention, the Prophet ﷺ utiya jawami al-kalim. If he said whomever's intention is to fast Ramadan, it'd be a different story.
So under this opinion, no one woman under the age of 60 will get this reward.
Well, that's not my business. You go tell that. You go tell that to the scholars. Yes.
Are there any hadiths about the women in the Prophet time that they fasted the 6 days of Shawwal?
Well, that's a different issue. If you hang around till we talk about that, we will. There's women who did other things that delay their period to get the ajr of the 6 of Shawwal. And that's probably what is their strongest support. They used to actually I'm not very familiar with what they used to do, but it's something like the water of the miswak or something like that is something in itself used to delay the period of a woman. Why? So they can get the full Ramadan in with the Muslims.
So it's okay for a woman to take some
For Hajj and for Ramadan it's permissible. Actually, we have a lot of Sahabiyat who did that. Yes.
So let's say you have to make up for Ramadan. Just anyone. They can't fast six days of Shawwal. If they fast those 6 days, they should fast for Ramadan first.
If they
Let's just say like you fast, you miss a couple days of Ramadan for whatever reason. And is it that you're supposed to make up for Ramadan first, or should you fast 6 days of Shawwal?
Uthman, you weren't even with us. Some scholars do say they should make it up. If you go by another opinion, that they should make it up and then they follow it by the 6 days of Shawwal.
Okay. So you should make up your fast first, then.
That's if you take the other opinion, yes. But I don't believe that's the right opinion because of the way the hadith is worded, because of the way the Sahabiyat used to do.
You have to answer this question. I'm not sure.
No, he's saying it wasn't. I don't think he was with us in the beginning.
You can't you said that you can delay making up your fast even like almost a year. So there's no rush on this to making them up. You can just do Shawwal.
Yeah, but to get the ajr of Shawwal according to the second opinion. The first opinion is what I told you. Someone who does not fast the days of Ramadan in Ramadan, someone who does not fast the days of Ramadan in Ramadan does not get the ajr of Shawwal. I think that's the right opinion because of the way the hadith is worded, because the way some of the sahabiyat tried to delay their monthly days to get the full month in. Okay, that's the first opinion. Second opinion is, no, they can get the ajr, but they have to fast Ramadan first. Yes, you got a year to fast it. However, in order to get the ajr of Shawwal, you got to finish Ramadan. Because they say, okay, you didn't do it in Ramadan, but you got to fulfill it. I tend to believe the first opinion is right from the way it's done, from the way the wording of the hadith. Okay, the next point is whomever dies with fasting that he didn't make up for. It's unanimous among scholars, completely unanimous. Someone who died and did not, and missed some prayers, someone who died and missed some prayers, do we make it up for him or no? Can you make it up for him? Can you? No, you cannot. Prayer, it's unanimous. It's unanimous, you cannot make it up for him. Someone who did not pray in this life, you cannot make it for him. And also it's unanimous, someone who can't fast, I can go and fast for him. As long as he's living. As long as he's living. The only one that differs from this in the pillars of Islam is Hajj. Someone who's very ill, terminally ill, or someone who died, you can make it up for him. Okay, Ramadan, someone who died, so you know now, Siyam, you cannot make it up for anyone. And someone who's alive, you can't make up fasting for him. Salah, you can never make it up for anyone. Siyam, you cannot make it up for someone who's alive. As long as he can breathe, you cannot make it up for him. Okay, our point is, someone who died and for some reason missed out some days. Do we make up his fasting? And yes, we do. Yes, we can make it up for him. Or we can compensate by giving a poor person, depending on the kind of days he missed. And the reason behind that is, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama wa alayhi siyam, sama anhu waliyuh." The Prophet ﷺ says, whomever dies, man mata, I'm sorry, I think I worded it wrong. Man mata wa alayhi siyam, sama anhu waliyuh. Man mata wa alayhi siyam, sama anhu waliyuh. Whomever dies, and he has days that he missed, then one of his close relatives can fast instead of him. Which should be the son, the father, the uncle, someone who's the close guardian or the friend or the one caretaker over that person could do it. And a man came to the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma narrates. He said, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, my mother, or in some narration, my father died and they had some days they missed out on. Could I compensate and make it up for them? The Prophet ﷺ said, if they had a debt, Ibn Abbas is the narrator of the hadith. Ibn Abbas is the narrator of the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, if your parents had a debt, would you pay it off for them? He said, yes. He said, same thing is the siyam, you can make it up for them.
Does it have to be one person making up the whole thing, or just...
Well, it should be the close relative. Okay. But it could be like if he has two children, and some of them say, I want to do some, and the other one says, I want to do another ajr. Because they're the same classification. But let's say there's one son and one cousin. The son is the one who should do it. The close relative. Waliyuhu is the close relative.
You said about prayers, so how would you make up, you said, you cannot make up for prayers to die.
Yes.
How would you?
How would you?
How would you make up for his prayers?
Well, you don't want my opinion on that. I think one who doesn't pray and left prayer, he's going to be in hell. If he left prayer and he died like that, he's going to be in hell. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the difference among us and them is leaving prayer. Whomever leaves it is a non-Muslim. Other scholars say he's a Muslim, but we talked about it so many times, but I don't think their proof is strong enough. Someone tried to refute it and failed at all her attempts, right? Right? All those hadith you brought and all the replies you got?
What does kafir mean, literally? I mean, somebody who
Oh, now you're adopting the modernist opinion. What does kafir mean? What does kafir mean?
Disbeliever. It means somebody who knows the truth and he still covers it. Somebody who knows.
So what did the Prophet ﷺ mean when he said one who leaves the prayer is a kafir? What did he mean?
Oh, you said there was a prayer. Sorry, I thought we were talking about Muslims.
No, I'm not talking about it. And I replied to it. I gave you the reply, and I told you where to go in Fatawa Ibn Taymiyyah to see the reply for that.
How about before? They missed their prayer before. You still cannot make it believe that, can you?
How?
In other words, when they died, they were praying, but earlier in their life, they had...
That's fine. Allah will forgive, inshallah, that which was in the past. Inshallah, Allah will forgive what's in the past. We're talking about someone who probably never prayed in his life, or towards the end of his life he quit praying. Do you make it up for him? You don't make it up for him. You can't even, I don't believe you can even make dua for such a person. I don't think he should be even buried. He should be dumped somewhere, you know. Seriously. That's the opinion of the scholars. That's the opinion of the 4 imams on someone who dies not praying. That's the opinion of the 4 imams. Now, some of them differ in is he kafir or not. But once he dies in that status, that's a different reason. That's a different situation. Okay, the next point is countries. Someone asked me actually today in an earlier halaqah, a country like Alaska, which we have 6 months daylight and 6 months nighttime. How do you know when to break your fast and when to eat? And the opinion on that is simple. You go according, some scholars said you go according to the closest area where they have daylight and nighttime. Subhanallah, today a sister asked this question because she's moving to Alaska, or she plans on moving to Alaska. She said, how am I gonna fast and break my fast? And this has been discussed by scholars, look back when, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The opinion on that is you go by the closest region. Like Alaska, I think what she said was Canada's closest thing to it, which have daylight and nighttime. You go according to them. Other scholars said that you go Mecca's time. Mecca's time, because that's where Allah revealed the wahi, and that's our capital. That's where we should see. But I think the right one is that you go to the area closest to you, because that's when most likely your day and nighttime are going to be. Mecca, just because it's the area of revelation. That's all. There's no hadith or anything. Okay, I think we stop here. I don't know if we're going to have a halaqah next week, because is Ramadan going to be next week? It's either Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe we'll have just a general talk about Ramadan. We basically went over almost everything. There's a little tiny issues that we have to talk about if we meet next week. I wanted to talk about Laylat al-Qadr and some other significance of Ramadan.
What are some common mistakes in Ramadan that people make? Misunderstandings and mistakes?
Well, there's plenty of them. I mean, where do I begin? But among them, probably the most serious ones is fasting the day of doubt. Fasting the day of doubt. Saying like, when is Ramadan, you said? What day is it going to be? Tuesday or Wednesday? Okay, what is it? Canton's always odd. We don't want to even hear about, whatever. Let's assume Ramadan is going to start Tuesday or Wednesday. Someone could come out and say, I want to fast Tuesday, even if it's not Ramadan. I'm going to fast it, so I get the benefit of fasting Tuesday, even if it's not Ramadan. That's called the day of doubt. I'm going to fast it, whether if it's Ramadan, good. If it's not Ramadan, I fasted a day of doubt. The Prophet ﷺ says, whomever fasts a day of doubt, then Abul Qasim, meaning he himself, disowns him. I disown him. Look at that minor little innovation. Actually, it sounds good to you. To me, it sounds good. Oh, one day, what the heck? I'll just fast that day, And if it's Ramadan, I got the reward. But the Prophet ﷺ says he will disown someone who fasts that day. Also, delaying a lot of the timetables, or a lot of the messages will delay Maghrib 5 minutes. If you know Maghrib is, look at the Sahaba and the hadith we've seen. It was even cloudy, or they doubt it's cloudy, and they still break their fast, just according to, what they say. So when it's Maghrib, or the timetable says 5:15, and that's sundown, sunset, that's it. You break your fast. You don't say, I'm going to add 5 or 10 minutes. The same with suhoor. You don't say, I want to break my fast, I stop my food, 20 minutes before. No, if you want to eat, keep eating if you want to. If you want to, or if the food is there 5 minutes before, you eat. And even some scholars said, and that's right, that if you're drinking and adhan, you hear the adhan, finish the sip of water that you have on your mouth. Because actually it's a hadith by the Prophet ﷺ where you don't put your cup down if you're drinking and the time of Fajr comes in. You don't do that. That's how, it's not restricted to the point of it's going to cause us hardship. Islam wants us to take things easy. What else is there?
It's only for drinking.
Drinking only. Or you got equivalent to that is you're chewing on something and you hear the adhan. The same thing.
How about the significance that in the last 10 days, the odd days, is a higher chance of being led?
Okay, you will talk about Laylatul Qadr? People are sleepy now. The Laylatul Qadr is one of the best thing you could say about it is it's one of the last odd days of the 10 days of Ramadan.
It definitely is, or it might be?
No, it definitely is. Some Sahaba like Ubay ibn Ka'ab radiallahu anh said, Wallahi, I know what day it is, and I know that day that the Prophet told us it was, or I know what day it is, and I know when the Prophet ﷺ told us to get up and do excessive worshiping. It's the 27th day of Ramadan. However, that's a mere guess by Ubay ibn Ka'ab. It could be. A lot of the Sahaba's guess was the 27th. The 27th. However, it's a mere guess. The Prophet ﷺ was going to tell us what day it is. He was going to tell us. He's seen a dispute among Muslims. 2 Muslims were disputing. So he forgot the day it was going to be. He forgot that day. And he said, I came out to tell you what day Laylatul Qadr is, but the dispute among these 2 Muslims made me forget it. And that's something Allah wanted him to forget. He didn't just forget it just like that. Allah wanted him to forget it because when we don't know it, you see a lot of people, going in the masjids, the 23, 24, 25, and they go and make probably i'tikaf the last 7, 8, 10 days of the. If Allah told us it's the 27th, that's it. You do the 27th and you got 83 years worth of worshiping. Laylatul Qadr. If you worship in that day, it's equivalent to 83, 84 years of worshiping. But he didn't tell us, so we can take advantage of the last 10 days or the last 10 days of Laylatul Qadr.
Rasul definitely forgot when it was. What basis are these Sahabi saying that?
Because he said it in the beginning. I know the day the Prophet told us to excessively worship. And he guessed it was the 27th. Based on the Prophet ﷺ, encouraging them to worship Allah. Not only was it Ubay ibn Ka'b, a lot of other Sahaba said so. But it's mere guess. There's no solid proof that it's the 27th. If the Prophet said, I forgot, the Sahaba can only guess.
Right.
And actually, there's signs of the Laylatul Qadr. What's some of the signs of Laylatul Qadr? And they probably seen that. Laylatul Qadr, the signs of it, and said that that's Laylatul Qadr. Among the signs of Laylatul Qadr, if you want to write them down, is that there's strong brightness in the night time of Laylatul Qadr. Meaning it's not a fully dark, normal night.
Just leave it for this Monday, please.
Okay, then we'll leave it for next Monday. Jazakumullah khair. If there's any questions now, I'll be able to take them like the questions we're having. Now that I said that, there's not going to be any questions. Yes?
For Niyyah, can we make like Niyyah for 30 days for Ramadan?
Ramadan's Niyyah, if you make it the first night, it keeps going on. The only time that Niyyah breaks is if you're sick or you travel. You break the Niyyah, you got to refresh that Niyyah again.
So you make one Niyyah?
Of course. The problem with the Niyyah of Ramadan is only the first day. You could sleep the first night not knowing if tomorrow Ramadan or not. That's the problem there. However, after the first night, normally you're going to go to sleep knowing in your heart, I'm fasting tomorrow. The only problem is in the first day, or if you happen to break Ramadan for any kind of reason, you got to refresh that niyyah for the following chain of days.
What if it's Ramadan, but you don't find out until, let's say, the afternoon of the first day? Then what do you do to make up another day at the end?
Yes, you have to make up a day because you didn't make up the niyyah. The scholars say you fast the remaining of the day from food and water. You fast with the Muslims in honor of that day, but that day doesn't count for you. You have to make it up. Because one of the rules for fast in Ramadan is niyyah. Yes?
So, I think that if Ramadan is Tuesday or Wednesday, we should go to sleep Monday night and get to Tuesday.
You gotta affirmatively have the niyyah. Meaning, you can't say, oh, you know what? If tomorrow is Ramadan, I'm gonna fast. If it's not, I'm not gonna fast. That's not a niyyah. The niyyah is you gotta make sure before you sleep or wake up at night and call the masjid and know it's Ramadan or not, and then go to sleep. Either having the niyyah it's not Ramadan or having the niyyah it's Ramadan. Yes.
Can you ever intentionally delay your fast days you have to make up for the next year? Can you do that intentionally?
The trend.
Just put it off, and then you had one last week and found out that you just couldn't do it for some reason, and you had
Delay within the year frame or after the year? Well, the trend of the Sahaba, as Aisha radiallahu anha said, is to do it within that year. All the Sahaba did it within that year. The scholars understood that you're not supposed to do it after that year, to the point some of them made a kafara on that. There's really no direct hadith that's saying it's haram. But that we go by the trend of the Sahaba. Aisha radiallahu anha said she never delayed it beyond Sha'ban.
Is it like Shi'an believe that you can keep piling it up so whenever you feel like doing it? Because I have some friends that accumulate their days over the years and think that that's okay to do.
I don't know if that's their opinion. I have no idea if that's their opinion. But I know all the scholars of us, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all the scholars, and explicitly the Sahaba say, we used to make up our fasting within that year, before Sha'ban.
There is no hadith directly addressing.
No. But we understand it by, that's what we mean when we say we're followers of the Sahaba. Meaning, their understanding in this matter would be the best understanding. Why would they not let it run over a year? There should be, they must have did it for a reason. But I can't say for someone who delayed it beyond the year that they're going to get sins. We have to have proof for something like that.
And there's nothing that says you should do it right away or as soon as
No, nothing.
the last month before Ramadan, right?
No, you can do it a few days before the next Ramadan. There's nothing that says you have to do it right after Ramadan.
About, feeding 16 skin.
60? Feeding?
60.
Yeah.
If somebody,
What about it?
or tahrir raqaba, freeing a slave, should be a Muslim?
Should?
Be a Muslim?
The Muslim slave? No, he doesn't have to be a Muslim. Because Allah didn't say فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مُؤْمِنَةٍ. Some other restrictions that Allah said تَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مُؤْمِنَةٍ. So we go by what the hadith says or what the verses say. When Allah says تَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مُؤْمِنَةٍ, then you could find, when it says like this, you could find someone who you see his heart is close to Islam, or even a non-Muslim slave. It doesn't have to be a Muslim. We don't have slaves, by the way, now. You know Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves?
There's no free space. Overseas, there is some countries still that's different. So can we go by...
Yes, and you should. Actually, you should. Like Mauritania, from what I heard, there's slaves still there. And if you can, you can go there, and you know where they're at, and you can afford the trip, and you should go there and free a slave from there. Not only that, when you give an oath and you want to break your oath, you should do that.
What about, feeding them skin? What, here, there is so many, I guess, Muslims, but back there, from my relatives or my neighbors and others, people who have more meaning. Should I send the money and make my family feed them, spare them?
Well, the general trend on it'am al-masakin and zakah, all these, is it should be in the town you're in. All of these, the zakah, like of Ramadan, should be in the town you're in. Because I'm supposed to take care of this town. And it doesn't have to be someone who's a beggar. Doesn't have to be. Could be an engineer who has 7 kids and he can't afford it. It could be someone like that. It doesn't have to be someone who's begging. But if you find in your area Everyone's self-sufficient and they're happy and they're above middle class or whatever, then send it out.
What about
Not in this, it doesn't apply. Not in this. Not in this.
Even if you live in a non-Muslim community?
Well, you give it to Muslim. You're considered like, Michigan is a community. So you don't consider, Detroit is an area and Hamtramck is an area or Canton is an area.
No, but there are some places in the U.S. that it's very difficult to find Muslims. Alhamdulillah, they get a lot of Muslims.
That's what I'm saying. If it's difficult, then you move on to somewhere else. But if you're not, these zakah, these particular ones, yes, they should be in your area. Unless there's a reason. Oh, masakin, the verse doesn't specify. Miskin doesn't have to be a Muslim, but it probably should be the category of the zakah, the one mu'allafa qulubuhum, or, the needy of the Muslims. Just any kafir, I don't know if that's permissible or not.
Say you have one day left to make up and start for Ramadan and the day of fast. Is it better to not fast that day?
No, you can fast it. You can fast that day. If you got one day to make up and you delayed it till the day before Ramadan, the day that we call the day of doubt, and your intention is I'm fasting this day, making up for that day I made up, you can fast that day. Or another example is, what if Ramadan is supposed to be Thursday or Friday, and you fast every Monday and Thursday, and this is a Thursday. Ramadan could be on Thursday or Friday, and you say I want to fast this Thursday, and it turns out that's the day before Ramadan. Do you get the curse of the Prophet ﷺ where he disowns you? You don't, because your niyyah is not the niyyah of someone who's fasting it for doubt. What we mean is the people who specify this is for doubt. Or someone who has 5 days to make up and they do consecutive 5 days, it turns out one of them is right before Ramadan. That's not the day of doubt for them. Everyone clear? Yes.
When you talk about 6 days of Shawwal, is there any time in the life of the Prophet or anyone of his companions that they didn't fast every single day during Ramadan, but yet still fast Shawwal? That would sort of prove that
they did not fast. I don't know of any.
Because that would prove that you could still do the 6 days of Shawwal, right?
If that happens.
Be strictly based on the
hadith, the little hadith. I'll look up that matter and see if there's instances like you mentioned. But I took the literal, as you mentioned, interpretation of the hadith. Any concerns? Additions? Yes. Doesn't have to be.
Okay. When we're talking about the product, like you make a promise when you start out one and you break it, and they really not ask it, like it's okay because some people just say, Allah all the time always break it. There's an ayah to cover what out of the 7 management. Does that mean like don't swear by Allah?
That doesn't mean all the time. That's the Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh said, continuously saying no by Allah and yes by Allah. Some people's tongue always, every other word, yes and no by Allah. But someone who makes oath in areas where he thinks he could do it, once in a while he makes oath, and then he turns out that this oath that he made, he finds something better than it. The Prophet directly in a hadith says, if anyone makes an oath and sees something later on better, in your short term you think this is the best. Wallahi, I'm not gonna go to Ann Arbor again. And then right now you say that. And later on in time, if it turns out that yes, going to Ann Arbor is better for you, the Prophet ﷺ said you should break your fast and do that which is better for you. Break your oath and do that which is better.
I have another question regarding the oath. We can lie if we want to compensate or like compromise between two friends. So suppose that I go to one of them and say, this guy, he said some good stuff about you, and he said, I don't believe you unless you swear by me. So at this case, should I swear to make it,
I don't know. I wouldn't swear by Allah on something like that. I don't think you should swear by Allah on something like that. You can lie, but we don't know that you can give an oath on something like that, you know.
He asked me what did Ahmed say, so he said some good stuff about you. Said no, he didn't say. So if I can't swear, to make it right.
I don't think you could. I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't think you could, because the oath and something like that needs proof. The reason we lie in a manner like that, in a precise manner like that, is because the Prophet ﷺ told us it's an exception. So in order for us to add an oath to that, we have to have a proof or exception to that. Other than that, I really don't know the answer to that. Yes, Ibn Abbas.
What age exactly do you have to do that fast?
You can be 4 if you can do it. My father, I think, made me when I was 5, I think. The Sahaba, one of the Sahabiyat said we used to take our little kids when fasting was ordained, and because, just before Maghrib they get hungry and thirsty. She said we used to take them to the mosque and make them, little toys and stuff to play with them, to forget about the fasting. So as young as you are, you can fast, and you should fast. You get the reward, not only you, and your parents get the reward. So you get the reward, your parents get the reward. But if you don't fast when you're a young kid, then you don't get the sins. So if you reach a certain age, after that you will get the sins if you don't fast. Well, your father will tell you when that age is. You're not thinking of breaking your fast, are you? That chicken that your mom makes, is that what your mind is on?
Yeah, he told me that it was haram for me to fast before I was puberty or something.
Well, it's not haram for you to fast, but you should fast. You should, if you can fast, it's okay. A young person who's under the age of puberty can fast if they should fast if they can. It's a good test. Like the Prophet ﷺ said about prayer. Order them to pray when they're 7 and hit them when they're 10. You know why? Because if you get used to it at that age, and just like fasting, some of the scholars said fasting is similar to that. Why? Because if if you start fasting and praying at that age, you won't be up 20, 30 years old and say, I really can't fast, I'm not used to prayer. You get addicted to it. That's it. It becomes something normal, very natural. Yes.
Whenever we talk about an action, it's always haram and do. Where does should fall under?
Shirk would fall under the haram, of course. Should as in what? As in?
You said it a few times. You should fast if you're...
Oh, in this particular matter. You got what particular thing? You ask me what particular. Like this one? Okay, this one it would be sunnah. Why? Because we got, what's the definition of sunnah? If you do it, you get ajr. If you don't do it, you don't get no sins. So if he fasts, like I told him, he'll get ajr. If he doesn't fast, he's not going to get sins. He get ajr because we have the proof of the Prophet ﷺ, many proof actually, that young kids used to fast. If you want to give me another example, not everything, something like I say you should pray would fall. It's different. It would fall under the fard. So it depends on precisely what I mentioned.
I'm not saying in specifically. We've heard a lot of people in their lectures.
It depends on what they say. It depends on what they say, not just the word should.
You said your closest relative should do the fasting.
Well, sunnah for the closest relative, yes. If no relative does the fasting, let's assume no relative does the fasting, is that dead person going to get sins? Of course he's not going to get sins. It's better for you and him to compensate for the fasting. But he won't get sins, of course, if he's exempted from fasting that days, unless he did them on purpose. That's it. Jazakumullah khair. Are we gonna meet here next week, Yusuf? Uthman? Okay.
I have this small announcement. So, inshallah, tomorrow there will be a question and answer for Sheikh Yusuf.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
This is the notes?
It's going to be in
A lot of notes, huh?
Wow.
And between 6 and 7.
Assalamu alaikum. كيف حالك؟